Honestly, I've tried every sport, every traditional sport, and I just wasn't. I did try football. That just didn't work out for me. I tried wrestling because my dad was a wrestler. That didn't work out. I went to the hospital after the first match or something. None of these traditional sports worked out. I mean, that was the one sport that I actually won a few games at, but Wikipedia does, it's not necessarily totally true. I wasn't a star, I wouldn't call myself a star. I just I was on the team. Really, the sports I excelled at were the non-traditional sports, like I was a skater, I was a huge snowboard advocate, enthusiast. When I was a kid, all I wanted to do was become a professional snowboarder. And surfing, that's really where all my time and attention went to outside of music. So my dad, he was my mom raised me, but my dad would get all of his kids together on trips. And then we would have these amazing adventures across the world, hanging out with, pops. And I learned a lot from him. I mean, his work ethic was, nothing like I've ever seen. He's always putting that drive in his kids. And I mean, I think part of his genius in his restaurateur business was just being a marketing guru. He was just a really clever strategist, and he was very sharp, and he was doing very out of the ordinary stunts that a restaurateur normally wouldn't do, race hot air balloons or offshore power boats, things like that we're what? It's kind of, he's a restaurant guy. So, he was just a very interesting person to look up to, being your father, and then seeing, waking up and all of a sudden you're in a hot air balloon track in the middle of a farmland in Belgium, or traveling across Japan and watching him do all this other stuff. So I really got to see an inside scoop of his ethic and all of his stuff that he was doing at the time. For the record, he actually never gave me any financial. He never actually gave me anything financial. There was no investing. There's nothing that he never gave any of his kids anything, even presents. The presents that he would give me would be oh yeah, here's a jacket, like a normal present. So you don't think yo man, I just got a Ferrari, when he had a whole entourage of cars, he was a very flamboyant, extravagant man. He had all kinds of cars, but he wouldn't be all right, so son, when you're 16, you're gonna get this Ferrari growing up. When you're young, you're oh, maybe I can get that, but it would never happen, and it never did. My first car was an Isuzu Rodeo that my brother bought in a police auction for $7,000, and my mom bought off my brother to give to me. So if anything, my mom spoiled me more than my dad, by far. But the one thing that my dad did do financially that I will, to this day, will always remember and always respect is that he paid for half my education, and my mom paid for the other half of my education for being in, having a double major, 5 years undergrad at UCSB, and instead of being stuck with student loans and dealing with that, I had my parents to deal with that, and that was a really great blessing to have. So I was very fortunate. I think in the end, that kind of rearing as a parent, really trains properly, your kids to live in a real world instead of something where, because life isn't easy and it shouldn't be, and if you don't learn to struggle, you won't be able to deal with failure and deal with things that are gonna happen. And I've hit the pavement and scraped the side of my face 10,000 times, and the only person that I could pick myself up was me. And so if I didn't learn how to do that, I don't think I would have a business for 19 years with Dim Mak Records. You know, finally being a successful, self-sustaining business, or deal with this very, very grueling schedule, which I absolutely love. And it's not like no one's putting me in it. Like when I do 250 or 300 shows a year as a DJ, it's because I want to be in it. And I'm not complaining. You know, no matter how tired I am, the last thing I want to do is complain. And that's the one thing I've learned is that, you know, if you figure it out yourself and how to get there, you'll understand the glory of like all the good stuff that's coming your way. You'll take the value and really cherish it. So it's different. The living forever is absolutely the insurance policy of like singularity is an insurance policy. So if it happens, you know, like I'm ready, you know, of course I'm ready to take that step and merge my body with technology and become an android. I'm absolutely ready to like take out all the organs and just and take out all the temperamental things that will kill you, like your heart, which is very temperamental and you know causes problems, and you know, so I can eat things for taste and not have to worry about those. I mean, that would be great, you know. So yeah, that like you know I would love that. So or like you know as if my skin's falling apart, just like upload my brain into another body, you know, and then I'll have a fully, you know, beautiful body to work, but you still have the Steve Aoki brain that people know. So, yeah, I'm excited for that time when that happens. But when it doesn't happen, I've already signed up to cryonics, where I can preserve my body in this cylinder, where it's basically, you know, a gravesite, but at least I'm frozen in a temperature degree where they can, if they have the technology to bring me back, they can do that. Well, I know that the most amazing thing in life is just to be alive and to think and to produce and to just be part of this world. Like, to me, this is heaven, you know, to be alive, to feel like these powerful feelings like love and bonding and friendship and you know, all these different things. You know, like I try to cherish in that moment. So when I think about the future, it's also, I'm thinking about like really just being very present. And I don't want to lose that presence. So, I mean, as present as you are, no matter how you look at it, you are moving forward in life, and you'll look in the mirror and you'll be like, I'm 37 years old. But I still feel like a 19-year-old guy, you know, especially with the music I'm producing and like, you know, these shows that I'm doing. But I'm very present in that. So I want to just continue and make my own decision to opt out of life instead of having cancer do that for me, or, you know, my brain degenerating, or like something happening in my body where I can't stop that. Like, if I can opt out, I would prefer to have that choice. Well, I don't know what's on the other side. I mean, everyone has their own ideas, and of course there's all these religions that say that this is what's going to happen to you, but I like to kind of think of things in a way where it has to make sense. Like, what's going to happen has to make sense to me. Like, you know, like, I don't want to get into the whole religious thing, but I don't really know what's going to happen. So all I know is that I know what's happening around me, and I enjoy that, and I want to continue being a part of this life. So, you know, as long as it's interesting and there's something that pushes me and makes me want to move forward in life, then I want to continue. Well, at the end of the day, if you really break it down, it's all based on passion. It's all based on how you feel. I don't want to get involved into anything unless I am, you know, emotionally committed and connected to the project. I trust my gut. I trust like how I feel about something. So, you know, if you ask my business manager how I do my investing, he'll tell you that it's like lopsided. You know, like I take bigger risks with the bulk of my money instead of like putting my money in like very conservative places. You know, like I'm like, well, I like never seen this much money before in my life, and I made it all myself. So the best part about it for me is I can make the decision of where it goes. Sometimes it might not be the wisest decision, but I made that money, so I have every right to do with it, to, you know, wherever way I would choose. So that's another thing about the idea of working for yourself and actually making your own money. You're not owing anyone anything but you. So that way, so for me, if I am going to invest my money and my time into these projects, I have to be 100% certain that I'm so emotionally engaged and a part of the project that if it fails, it's still, you know, it doesn't matter to me because I feel validity with the amount of time and investment that I put into it. Dimmock is a perfect example. You know, like a record label is probably one of the hardest, running an independent label is one of the hardest businesses there is to do that I'm aware of. But, you know, even if someone said, don't do it 10,000 times, I would still do it because I love doing it. It's like, you know, I love to promote other music and artists and be a part of that world. So, you know, and somehow we dodged every bullet when I've seen my friends fall to the wayside that were far more successful than I was. And we've somehow, you know, hit like some hyper zone and we've like finally into the money. You know, not a lot of money, but we're into the money. We're making money, which is unbelievable at a time when people don't download music. So, I mean, that's just one thing that I'm talking about as far as like, you know, all the different things that drive me. You know, like fashion is a whole other business I'm getting myself into, and I'm investing a large part of myself in, you know, that is an extremely fickle economy, and it's incredibly fast-paced and changing, and you have to be on top of it and immersed in that world, and it's a difficult thing, and I'm you know, I'm definitely I'm excited about that challenge too. Awesome. Neon Future 2 is the, you know, I guess you call it the evolution of 1, Neon Future 1. And Neon Future 1, I have Ray Kurzweil and Aubrey de Grey introing, outroing the album, and they both talk about endless life, living indefinitely. Singularity to Aubrey de Grey, who wrote a book called Ending Aging, where he's doing research to reverse cellular degeneration and getting really far into that research. Neon Future 2, I got Kip Thorne and J.J. Abrams, who are both in space exploration and science fiction. You know, like J.J. Abrams, the director of Star Wars and Lost. He was the founder. He made Lost, like one of the best TV shows ever. Fringe. He closes the album, and he's all about, you know, exploring space. And Kip Thorne is the executive producer of my favorite film, Interstellar, and he talks about space exploration. And I have a few songs, like Light Years, which is, you know, as it's Light Years. And I have another song called Time Capsule, where I wrote this whole monologue about traveling through space. So that's like kind of like it's a different angle of the future, the Neon Future.
When are you dropping it?
I didn't even talk about the artists on the album, actually. Yeah, so, which are, you know, I have Snoop on the album, we have Linkin Park on the album. I have new artists like Walk Off the Earth, some like EDM veterans like Nervo and Matthew Koma. Rivers Cuomo's on the album from Weezer. You know, it's like a 10-track album, and it's awesome.